You are listening to episode 62 of the Confident Coaches podcast, the one where you learn how to measure your confidence. Let's go. Welcome to the Confident Coaches podcast, a place for creating the self-confidence you need to do your best work as a life coach. If you want to bring more boldness, more resilience, and more joy to your work, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Amy Latta. Let's dive in. Hello, my friends. Hi, Confident Coaches. How's everybody doing out there? How my Latta loves? I hope you're doing fabulously. So I'm recording this obviously just over a week ago, but today, when you guys are listening to this, will be the second day of my first ever virtual event. I'm calling it the Confident Coaches Bootcamp or CCM Bootcamp. I'm so excited about it. So I'm assuming that it's going really amazingly and awesomely because today, the second day especially, is the day I'm super excited about. I'm planning it right now. I laid it out a couple of months ago when I was thinking about how I was going to really elevate Confident Coaches Mastermind for 2021. And obviously, I would love to do this event in person, but it is still times of COVID. So I've made it a virtual event and I've been planning it out. And really what it is, it's just, I've created the Confident Coaches program, the member site. I've talked about that throughout the podcast. I remember when I launched that back in April for the very first time, and then I created a couple worksheets here and there. And then I actually created a workbook for my September or my November class. And I realized that I really didn't have a system to make sure that the coaches were actually doing the work or that they knew how to do the work. So I said, let's do an actual 2-day event where we do the work together so that by the time our first call starts, January's first call doesn't even start until next week. We still have one more week. But that by that time that week came, all of the coaches starting will have everything already presented to them. They will have worked through the workbooks. We will do that work together. Goals will be set. Questions will be answered so that we are hitting the ground running before the first call even takes place. Like before, you still get 6 months of coaching once you get in here and you have all of the content inside Confident Coaches, all of the concepts I teach here on the podcast, plus way more, really learning it and integrating it. I'm so excited. I'm really excited for the future when this work is no longer virtual and we're able to actually do it live because friends, who's pretty awesome live? I am. So anyway, here's a shout out to my January class who's on day 2 of the very first ever virtual 2-day boot camp. I'm so excited to see what this class of coaches does with this work. And this is just really I want you all to really consider this. I'm just going to put this little nugget in your ear. So many of you right now, I know because I coach on this all the dang time, think I don't have ABC done. I don't have XYZ done. And I have to have all of that done before I can be working with people. No. If you have been listening to the beginning, then you know that I have created stuff along the way. I launched 6 masterminds in 2020. All 6 of them, I introduced something new, something different. Who knows what, and this first one of January 2021, I'm introducing something brand new. Who knows what I'll create in the future ones this year. I'm only doing 4 this year, not 6. This idea that we have to have everything figured out. We have to have all of our ducks in a row. First of all, why? No, you don't. You don't have to. This is not a rule. You can sell coaching before you have a program. I didn't even have a program until April of 2020. And I've been coaching as a certified coach since 2016. And I've been coaching before that since 2013. And I didn't have a program, quote unquote, official program until last year. And I've already decided things that, I would streamline, I would put more content here. This idea that we have to have everything completed and it has to be perfect with a bow on it before we can open our doors. No, stop that. No one has to do that. In fact, most of the coaches most of the business owners that you know and love started out with a simple concept. For you coaches, the only concept you really need to know is I have something of value to offer, and people want what I have to offer, and they're waiting for me to offer it. That's all you need. And then the work in this podcast to believe you can do something you've never done before, to unbelieve the crap, to believe the stuff you want to believe, and to make the next best choice and just learn how to decide. That's all you need. You don't need a full program. You can be like me, 7 years in and launching their first 2-day event. All right. So I wanted to give a super quick shout out to a podcast reviewer, Kelly from Canada. Left a review on Apple Podcasts just sometime in the past couple of weeks. I haven't read podcast reviews in quite a while, but Kelly shared a really short and sweet review, and I wanted to share it with you guys. She shared that Confident Coaches podcast is inspiring and down to earth, and Amy has a positive and relatable personality that's contagious. It's easy to listen to with lots of great content. See, what did I tell you? Short, sweet, Kelly. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to say, hey, just show me a little podcast review love. We really appreciate it. If you guys don't know that if you have podcasts, and this isn't just mine, I'm going to do this like for all podcasts anywhere. If there are podcasts that you listen to, take the time to show them some review love, particularly on Apple Podcasts. That is where, they will show the podcast to more people when they have more reviews. It's just giving a little love back when we are pouring all kinds of love into your ears every single week. So if you haven't left a review, all you have to have is an iTunes account. You don't even have to have an Apple iPhone. If you do have an iPhone, you can leave a review right from the podcast page, or you can log into iTunes on your computer, look up the Confident Coaches podcast, and, subscribe, rate, and review. Make sure you include your name in the review, because iTunes just tells me your handle, your iTunes name. And some of y'all got some crazy ass iTunes names. So Kelly from Canada, thank you for having an iTunes name that actually told me who you were. And I would love to share more listener shout outs this year. So if you got a review for me, drop it in there. I would love to read it. So today's episode comes from some experiences that I had this year. Like I said, from how did I come up with the 2-day event? I am always studying my people. What can I do to elevate the program? How can I make sure that more of my students get the results they're looking for, that they get farther and faster than they could have before? I'm constantly studying, what's holding people back? What are the most common things that we coach on? What are the most prevailing beliefs that people are believing that they don't have to anymore, and how can I coach them through that faster? And so one of the concepts that I came up with towards the end of 2020 is the idea of a confidence scale. Okay. So I'm going to take you back a bit, but before I jump into the confidence scale, let's just kind of remind ourselves about confidence in general, right? If you hear me say this once, you'll hear me say it 100 times. Confidence is not a luxury. It's not just for the chosen few. It is necessary. It's a necessity in your business to have confidence, because in order to grow a life coaching business on a solid foundation, us coaches need confidence in 3 things: marketing, selling, and coaching. And yet, these are the 3 things we coach the most on in Confident Coaches Mastermind: the lack of confidence in marketing and selling and coaching. Like, if I've coached on these 3 things once, I've coached on them 100 times. I'm not good enough at marketing. I'm not good enough at selling. I'm not good enough at coaching. Coaches believe these things, and then they decide whether or not they are good enough based on how many people are following them and responding to their posts, or how many people are buying coaching from them, or how many clients are getting the results that they promised them. Here's the problem. When you decide that your confidence in yourself and in your abilities is determined by those things, all of those things are outside of you, and you will always be chasing confidence. And when you chase confidence, you lose it as easily and quickly as you achieve it. Listen, friends, coaches, confidence becomes like this elusive lover, always giving you just enough love to keep you coming back for more, but ultimately leaving you heartbroken. I want you to imagine that it is entirely possible that you could feel confident in those three things all of the time. What? Hi, welcome to the show. This is what we do here on Confident Coaches, right? It is possible you could be confident in your abilities and in yourself, no matter what current situation that you are in, no matter how many people are responding to your posts or how many people are saying yes, or how many clients are getting the results that you think they should have so that you can decide that you can be confident, right? It's not only possible, it will actually get you the business you want faster and easier than without. Okay. So just to be clear, this is the first time I've talked about confidence in those three specific things. So let's boil that down real quick. What is marketing and selling and coaching anyway? What am I talking about here? I know we think we all know what that means, but here's what I'm talking about. Marketing is letting people know who you are. I'm a coach. This is how I help people. This is what I believe in. This is what I know, and I can help you. Marketing is posting on social media, it's meeting people at networking events, it's writing emails, it's going live on Facebook and Instagram. There are all kinds of marketing activities. It might also be podcasting or speaking events, not that we're doing that many of them right now. It's any means of communicating who you are and what you believe. Marketing is you standing on the edge of a cliff, tall as a lighthouse, shining your light out into the deep, dark ocean and drawing your people in. Some will want to come into that harbor, some won't. And that doesn't matter because confident marketing will draw your people into your harbor and let others find help in other harbors that are a better fit. Selling is making offers. I'm a coach and I can help you. Do you want my help? It's also being human and not being a weirdo when you're making offers, right? The goal is to get them to say yes or no. Selling is inviting people to take the next step, to read past the headline or the subject line, to read the next line and the one after that, to take you up on scheduling that call, to show up for that call, to say yes at the end of that call. Every single step there, you are selling them into the next step. Selling brings them into that harbor. Pull on up to a dock slip, find your spot and know that you're taken care of. Okay, so lastly, coaching. Coaching is what we do. This is showing our clients their thinking and the results that they are creating from that thinking. We are offering to them that they can change their results by changing their thinking. I want to offer you, friends, that coaching is actually the simplest thing that we do. It's holding space for our clients. It's asking powerful questions. Whatever it takes to show them their thoughts, what those thoughts are creating for them so that they can decide if they want to keep those thoughts. Coaching is not giving them the best boat in the harbor. It's giving them the space to make their boat the best boat for them. I really ran with that boat harbor analogy. You're welcome. All right. So where does the confidence scale come in? Because that's what this episode's all about, right? Listen, I want all of my CCM students to hit every one of their BHAGs, all of their big, hairy, audacious goals. You want to go from 0 to 10 clients? Let's do it. You want to be fully booked and create a wait list? Yes, I'm all in. You want to make consistent $8,000 months so that you can become a 6-figure a year coach? We can do that. But I know a truth that no one really wants to talk about. Hitting those goals means nothing if your confidence depends on it. If your confidence is determined by what you've created, it's not true confidence. A business built on the need for a certain definition of success is a business built on quicksand, my friends. It doesn't matter what you achieve, you will sink under the weight of your expectations. But a business built on confidence, you can build that business sky high and you'll never be in fear of crumbling under the weight of your expectations. Remember, growth is not linear. Income and clients and success does not grow in a straight line. I can't wait for you to hear next week's podcast because it's going to be a prime example of that right there. You will be this close to being fully booked and then get 9 no's in a row. You will have a $1,000 month or a $500 month right after an $8,000 month. Your calendar will be full of consults for 2 weeks and then empty for the next 3. Don't just say, oh, yeah, that might happen. Shit like that's going to happen. It's going to happen. Absolutely, because that's called business and that's called life. And the difference between regular coaches and confident coaches is confident coaches know how to continue feeling confident in themselves no matter that shit happening. Some clients in CCM will go from not posting on social media at all to 6 months later posting every single day. Some will go from having just a handful of clients here and there to being fully booked. Some will have a few $100s or a few $1,000s here or there, very sporadic, to thousands of dollars of consistent income. The individual results confident coaches create is directly related to their confidence growth. And what I really realized this year is that my CCM students can have all different kinds of things going on in the R line, but every single one of them grew their confidence. Their confidence grew. And remember, their confidence is building a business on a solid foundation as opposed to that quicksand foundation. That really was the most important R line result that we could come up with. So how do you feel confident in you no matter what your results are? CCM students, I coach them to double for sure, sometimes triple, and I had one student quadruple her confidence last year. What? 4 times. Yes. Measurably growing your confidence requires you to unlearn the bullshit that you believe that doesn't serve you, learning the beliefs that you need that do serve you, and then learning how to decide the next best step so you stop getting stuck. This is very simple to understand, but it does take time to master because, we're doing this whole rewiring how your brain thinks and talks about you, right? We are unwriting the beliefs you have run your life by for decades. True confidence growth is applying this work that we do inside the mastermind, a lot of these concepts you hear on this podcast, week in, week out, until your Helga brain, your inner cave woman brain, finally lets that go. Okay. But I'm going to share with you right now how we measure confidence. It's the simplest thing. The actual confidence scale is about 2 minutes of content, but everything else, it was really important to understand why this is so important because we can measure your confidence in a second, in a moment. So I'm actually going to invite each of you to measure your confidence level right now in those 3 areas. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the least confident and 10 being the most confident. I want you to hear each of these questions I'm getting ready to read to you. There's only 3 of them. You already know the topics. We've mentioned them already in this podcast. And I want you to write down the first number that comes to mind. Do not overthink this. When you're measuring your confidence or your belief or anything like that, always go with the first number. And yes, it's okay if it's nuanced. It's okay if it's in the middle because I'm good here, but I'm not so great here. It's a scale of 1 to 10, and the scale is going to be different for everybody. It's not so much the confidence scale is not something that I'm going to measure you by. It's something that you are going to measure you by because that's really the most important thing. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think, right? So here are the 3 sentences, and just the first number that comes to mind. Do not overthink this. How confident are you marketing yourself as a life coach? Remember our definitions for marketing. How confident are you selling your coaching to prospective clients? What number is that on a scale of 1 to 10? And lastly, how confident are you coaching your clients to get the results that you want? Now, see, here's the thing. That number, you might have very different numbers in those 3 areas. They might all be low. They might all be high. You might be high in one area and low in another area. That tells you where your work is. It really simplifies because so many people come to me and they think, I like what you have to say and I like you and you're, charismatic and you're down to earth and, all of those amazing things like what Kelly shared. But I just really don't think I need confidence coaching. But when we break it down like this, we can see, oh, I am a really confident coach. I'm just not confident in my selling. Or actually, I'm really great with selling if I can just get them on the phone. I'm not confident that I can get them on the phone. i.e., I'm not confident in my marketing. If those are the 3 steps that all coaches need to be confident in, let's figure out where your needs are. Because what we do inside Confident Coaches is we come back 6 months from now and we measure it again. And here's the thing. So many clients will think this was successful or this wasn't successful based on what I've achieved, the success that I've had. If I don't get X number of clients, then this didn't work. And I'm like, we're measuring the wrong thing. We're using the wrong measuring stick here. How is your confidence? Because then when you really realize, you know what, all of that is external and it has no bearing on how I feel internally. And when you truly understand that and use the confidence scale to help you measure your internal growth, those other numbers are going to fluctuate up and down for the rest of your business. They are not always going to go up. They will go up, they will go down. Over the course of time, we want them to build a gradual line, but it will always dip. There will always be seasons. You will change something in your circumstance and it might take a dip, but if your confidence growth is steady, and you're always measuring that. And so then you know where to go to work on in your belief. The rest of the numbers don't matter right now. They will fall in line. When you focus on confidence growth, which is a focus on learning how to unbelieve the shit that doesn't serve you. And it's a focus on learning to believe what you want to believe about yourself. And it's a focus on learning how to decide the next best step and following through on it. When you focus on that, the rest of the numbers fall in line. They are inevitable. Everything else becomes inevitable when you learn how to grow your confidence using the confidence scale. All right, my friends. So this is what's in store for my January class. My January class will actually be the first class that gets the confidence scale from the very beginning. I'm so stinking excited. They actually measured last week. I'm having to remember that I'm recording the week that they're measuring, but that's actually next week for you guys. So they just measured it. And we're going to do all of this belief work. We're going to find all of the Helga thoughts that they had. We're going to learn how to unbelieve them. They're going to learn how to believe something new. They're going to learn how to make decisions. And no matter their specific R lines, we're going to measure their growth and confidence. We are going to strengthen the foundation on which they are building their life coaching business from this point forward. And that is something they will always have with them that no external results can ever take away. All right, my friends. All right, so what are your confidence numbers? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this concept and where you are identifying where you need your work to be. And no matter where you are in this moment right now, know that you really do have everything that you already need. We're doing this work this year? Let's do this work this year, my friends. All right, 2021, we got this. Coaches, I cannot wait to see what you create. And remember, until next week, let's do epic stuff. Coaches, I have created a brand new freebie offer just for you podcast listeners. I created a brand new training called Stop Overcomplicating Confidence because I see my coaches do it all the time, make this confidence thing way harder than it has to be. In this free training, you're going to learn exactly how you overcomplicate confidence, what's creating that, and how to stop it. Here's the best part. All of it, less than an hour. Less than an hour of your time. You will feel more confident in less than an hour, right? Yeah, friends, this is the best training I've ever done. So visit amylatta.com/podcast gift to get yours. Again, that's amylatta.com/podcast gift. Go now and feel more confident in just an hour. Thanks so much for listening to the Confident Coaches podcast. I invite you to learn more. Come visit me at amylatta.com. And until next week, let's go do epic stuff.